Okay, so we are starting with geometry. We'll go with the basics of geometry first. And the basics are we're going to start with the properties of supplementary angles or angles lying on the straight line. Supplementary angles. Supplementary angles or angles lying on the straight line. So when we say angles lying on the straight line, no matter if there are two or more angles, if they are lying on the straight line originating from one single point, originating from one single point means we should be having one common point. Let's say this is A, B, C, D, and we have two angles drawn there. If let's say this is A and this is B. So angles on a straight line, they will always sum up to 180 degrees. So here we can make the equation as A plus B is equals to 180. This was the case when we only had two angles involved. But we can also expect more than two angles to be there. More than two angles means on one single point, there can be two or more angles. So two or more angles means either 3, 4, or 5. If they are originating from the same common point, all the angles made on that same common point, they would be adding up to 180 degrees. So in this case, I have three different angles formed. If let's say this is A, this is B, and this is C. So idea remains the same. Whatever angles are there originating from same point, if let's say this is point O, and they all these angles are lying on the straight line, these three angles would sum up to 180 degrees. So we can make the equation as A plus B plus C is equals to 180. And even if there are four angles, then all four angles would sum up to 180 degrees. So the idea is it always adds up to 180 degrees. Now, based on this scenario, we'll solve a few examples here. In case of example 1, we can see at point O, there are two different angles. And as per the property of the angles on the straight line, they should add up to 180 degrees. So that will help us in making the first equation. So we'll have the equation as the first angle, which is 7x minus 13 plus the second angle, which is 5x minus 23. These two angles, as per the property of the straight line, they would add up to 180 degrees. So we have the equation formed here. So 7x plus 5x, that would be a 12x, minus 13 minus 23, that would be a minus 36, equals to 180. So 12x is equal to 180 minus 36, and then 12x is equal to 180 minus 36, that's a 144. X is equal to 144 upon 12, which gives us 12. We get the x value as 12. In the next example, at one single point, we have three different angles originating, and they would also sum up to 180 degrees. So we'll have the equation formed as 2x plus 4x plus 3x. They would all add up to 180. So we'll have the equation formed as 6x plus 3x, that's a 9x is equals to 180. X is equals to 180 upon 9, and we get the x value as 20 degrees. So this was the first property to be remembered, or first uh, first thing to be remembered when we talk about geometry in our syllabus. Moving onwards, the second property about geometry to be remembered is, here it was angles lying on a straight line. Now the second thing is angles on a point. On a point. On a point means now we are not talking about the straight line. Now we are talking about one single point. And the idea is, if you have one single point O, let's suppose it's a O, and you have multiple angles originating from this point O. So let's suppose this we have is three different angles. So this, let's suppose this is angle A, this is B, and this one is C. So the rule to be remembered, or the property to be remembered, is the sum of the angles formed at one point, it would be 360 degrees. So the equation to be made in this case, it is A plus B plus C is equals to 180 degrees. This was the case when we only had 3 points, but having said that, you can always expect 3 or more angles. So when we have 4 angles involved, for example, you have somewhat like this. Now you can see 4 different angles involved at one single point O. The 4 angles are, let's say this is A, this one is B, C, D. So all these 4 angles would sum up to 180 degrees. The equation to be made here, it would be sum up to 360 degrees. I wrote this incorrect. Please correct this. They sum up to 360. These were 3 angles summing up to 360, and in case of the second case, it's 4 angles summing up to 360. So A plus C plus D, they would add up to 360 degree in total. Examples. Now, in case of this example, here the question says A, B, C, D, and E, F are straight lines. So you have to be particular about the condition used. A, B, C, D, and E, F, all these three are straight lines. So if they are straight lines, so you have to keep in mind the properties of the straight lines as well. And secondly, there is one more property about straight lines intersecting, and that is when the two lines intersect. Let me explain that property first. Intersecting lines, the third property. Intersecting lines is when two lines intersect, they would be making the letter X. And whenever you see a letter X being formed, the property is the vertically opposite angles are equal. Vertically opposite means, if let's suppose this is A, this is B, this is C, and this is D. And these are straight lines, mind you, straight lines. So A, B, capital A, capital B, and capital C, capital D. A, B, and C, D are straight lines. AB and CD are straight lines. So straight lines is the most important statement here. Straight lines. So whenever two straight lines intersect, the angles formed, they are equal. The vertically opposite angles are equal. Vertically opposite means B and D. In this case, they are vertically opposite. And other than B and D, A and C, they would be equal. Why? Because they are also vertically opposite. So for intersecting lines, A is equal to C and B is equal to D. And we call them as vertically opposite. So you have to keep in mind the property of the intersecting lines also, which is vertically opposite. Now, coming back to the example, here, A, B, C, D, and E, F, they are straight lines. The straight lines means we can expect the vertically opposite angles properties to be applied as well in case of this question. So since E, F, and C, D, they are vertically opposite, so this angle formed will also be 4x. So if this is 4x, then we can see the straight line having three angles involved. So in this case, we can make the equation as 2x plus 4x plus 3x is equal to 180. Solving this equation, it would be 9x is equal to 180 and x is equal to 180 upon 9, x is equal to 20 degrees. Let's talk about another example. In case of part B, here again we can see a straight line. We have this EF, the straight line, because the question is given us the condition EF is a straight line. So if EF is a straight line, then all the angles lying on EF, they would sum up to 180 degrees. The equation to be made in this case, it would be 62 plus 49 plus 3x is equals to 180. 3x is equal to 180 minus 62 minus 49. And solving this value, one 80 minus 62 minus 49, that's a 69. X is equal to 69 upon 3. This gives us x as 23. Apart from EF, we have one more straight line, which is CD. So CD, the angles summing up here, it would be Y plus 62 plus 49 is equal to 360. So y is equal to 360 minus 62 minus 49. Y is equals to 360 minus 62 minus 49. That's no wait, it's not 360, that's 180. That would give us 69. Y we have is 69. Finally, Z can be found as this EF is another straight line. EF is another straight line. So equation to be made here, it would be Y plus Z is equal to 180. Y plus Z is equal to 180. And Z is equal to 180 minus Y. Z is equal to 180 minus 69. And Z is equal to 180 minus 69. That's 111.